She moved from the Philippines to the Maldives with the promise of a better future, but she found herself exploited and abused for the next 2 years. She gave her passport to her employers until her visa was approved, but it was never returned to her. She was verbally, physically, and sexually harassed by her employers, and when she asked to resign, they threatened to report her to the police to detain her for being an illegal migrant worker. That is how she found out she was undocumented. She fled to the capital in a cargo boat, and her employers reported her as absconded. Soon, she was detained by immigration officers. In May 2025, with the help of the Philippines consulate in Dhaka, she left the Maldives poorer than she had started out, exhausted and traumatized. This is a true story that represents the situation of many migrant workers in the Maldives. The Maldives is home to the largest proportional percentage of migrant workers in South Asia. However, the exploitation of migrant workers in the Maldives has managed to stay under the radar due to its small size and geopolitical insignificance. I have conducted field observations over 12 months and 34 interviews with migrant workers, their employers, and NGOs to find out why these exploitations take place and why organizations are not held accountable for their actions. Now you may think, we already have many international standards and human rights instruments. Why not just implement them in the Maldives? My research shows that a lot of these standards that were created by developed countries are not always applicable in developing countries like the Maldives. My research also shows that simply having formal institutions like laws and policies do not always work in this context, and it's common to ignore formal rules. Therefore, it's important to regulate the informal institutions that control how willing people are to implement and follow the formal rules. I have discovered that most residents of the Maldives, including migrant workers and the general public, are unaware of the responsibilities of organizations towards migrant workers. I have also discovered that there is xenophobia towards them that is fueled by the narrative fed by those in power, such as, they're here to steal our jobs and they're causing unrest in the country, when in reality, this unrest is usually a peaceful protest by migrant workers due to unpaid wages. In the end, they get deported and they still don't get paid. I am creating an awareness campaign that incorporates the exploitation of migrant workers with the responsibilities of organizations towards them. My goal is to break the illusion and enlighten the public on reality that migrant workers aren't stealing our jobs but are brought by organizations as cheap labor and are made to work and live in exploitative conditions. We can keep on making laws and policies, but the exploitation will continue unless we get enough people to care and put pressure on those responsible. Thank you.